Live and welcome to this morning's not panel discussions, sorry, shining the light on our community. And we have a beautiful guest with us today, Einav from all the way from London, who's come to talk us about, to chat to us about chronic pain and what the real reason is and what the doctors don't know about it, which is a subject close to my heart. So thank you for joining us and to tell us about that. Let me just introduce you a little bit because I really love your story. So you're a pain-free living mentor and you help people with chronic pain, chronic illness and unexplained medical conditions heal and reverse their symptoms. And you do this by helping people recognize the psychological element that is the source of their condition, which is, like I said, it's something true to my heart. And I'd love to get more into what you're doing, because like I said, I've had a chronic condition all my life, or a genetic condition, and used to be in absolute chronic pain, but now I live pain free. So I really want to talk about this. So welcome so much to our conversation, to shining the light on our community. Let us start, tell us about you and how did you get into this area? What drove you or guided you to help people to live a pain-free life?
Thank you, and thank you for this lovely introduction. So where do I actually start? I guess I'll start with myself. Just a quick recap. I started life as a very shy, very low confidence, very low self-esteem kind of kid, and I always struggled. On the one hand, I knew I was very resourceful, I was very outgoing. On the other hand, I was very shy and very insecure, and that was kind of a very uncomfortable duality in myself. But it wasn't until many years later, after I got divorced from my ex-husband, and I always say I was not very happy with the marriage, but I was very proud of the divorce. But when he finally left, I was I didn't know who I was anymore, and so I went to see this therapist, and he shone this incredible light on my life, and he just said, do you know, you're just simply lacking the powers of your own convictions. And that was like, it was mind blowing, this little comment. And I really made me go inside and realize that I was living life out of fear. I was fearful about being myself. I was fearful about being rejected, about being misunderstood, about being judged. All of these things meant that I was really very much deep inside my comfort zone and very scared of showing up in life. But on the other hand, I knew there was something in me that I was meant to show up. So again, this duality was there. And I created a formula for myself. And I basically said, okay, no more living out of fear. And I said, anything that comes out in my life now, I'm going to say, do I want to do it? Yes. Does it scare me? Yes. Is it going to kill me? If the answer is yes, then no, don't do it. But if the answer is no, then I'm going to just do it. And that changed my life, like, completely. And all of a sudden I did things that I never thought I could do. And that was like, I went to do a diving course. I went traveling. I raised money for arthritis research campaign and went to climb the foothills of the Himalayas. I went to Mongolia to teach English as a foreign language. I did my master's. I did all of these things because I realized that I didn't want to have fear as a guest at the table anymore. But fast forward a few years, I was in IT, and it didn't sit with me anymore. And I went to do my coaching and mentoring training. And there I was doing my NLP master practitioner. I was introduced to the mind-body connection. And that blew my mind, because I anyway believe that our unconscious mind is the most powerful thing there is. And if we allow it to be our friend, it gives us magic in our lives. So that was already my belief. And all of a sudden with the NLP, I was like, I have to do this. So as soon as I finished my training, I started marketing myself and talking about chronic pain. But what happened was that pretty much immediately I managed to get some people really, really angry. And that really threw me. So basically, I mean, I'm very grateful for that experience because I understood two things. First thing is that I have to be even more careful about the words that I was using, even though I never meant to hurt anyone. Also, I understood that a lot of the time people with chronic pain or chronic illness, even though they might not be aware of it, but they do have some sort of an attachment to their condition because they've been suffering with it for such a long time. And who are they going to be when it's not there? And it doesn't mean that they don't want to get better. It definitely doesn't mean that the pain is not real and all of that. It just means that I have to go about it in another way. Oh, I can't hear you.
Off as well as everything else. Sorry about that. I totally agree with you. Really, really agree, because and that kind of, I can connect, and it touches my heart because it's so true. When people have conditions and they're in pain or whatever it is, it actually, even though you're in a lot of pain, it becomes your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And if you're getting used to that, you don't know what else there is. You may not want to heal it,
Exactly.
and you're also receiving something from it. It's like, when I was growing up, if I can share this as an example that you may be able to speak to as well. And when I was growing up, I've had like over 30 operations, but some of those operations weren't totally necessary. But I put myself through that because I was getting the attention in hospital.
Mm.
So when we receive something, we don't want to let it go because we don't know how to replace it and
Yeah.
stuff. And you've experienced that with other people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But I just want to say that after my experience with the people that got angry with me, I ran away. I wasn't ready
Yes.
to deal with people that was in so much pain, and so I decided, I went into confidence and empowerment, and I was mainly helping people to recognize the negative self-talk and limiting beliefs that were holding them back.
Yeah.
And I was doing that for about 5 years, and then I realized that actually, for my alignment, I need to do the same, but to really do it more in the realm of the chronic pain and chronic illnesses and stuff.
Yes.
And so basically, I've basically gone back to my roots, to where I always felt that I needed to be.
Yeah.
And
Wait.
now, sorry,
Yeah. I was going to say where your passion is.
really my passion, I really believe that this is my calling. And I guess it really, this was affirmed to me when one of my clients, he came to me with chronic pain. He was on a constant pain level of 9 to 10 out of 10. He couldn't sit, he couldn't stand, he couldn't lie down. He just had no hope. And what we done is that he told me later that after our first conversation that we just had, he said his pain reduced by 20%. And for someone who had this constant pain level for such a long time, it was such a huge sign that things can be better, can be different. And so now, I mean, what we've done with him at the time was really just about conversations about acknowledging fears and hopes and, frustrations, limitations, conditioning, all of these things. And slowly, his pain reduced. And now, he's completely pain free. But I want to use his example because he was in conversations with another woman that was going through exactly the same kind of pain that he had. It was something unexplained in his back, and he got an epidural shot that increased his pain, and it was just a mess in his body. And this woman was going through the same thing, and she opted in to have an operation.
Yeah.
Basically, the operation is, you kind of take the spine out and kind of reconnect it and stuff, but she can't walk anymore. And there he is, pain free and walking and running and doing everything. And that made me really understand a few things, like that a lot of the time people believe that the chronic pain, the chronic illness is something that is structurally wrong with them. And because they're in pain, and I definitely understand that when we are in pain, our thinking is completely different. It's so focused on the pain and so focused on the fear of the pain and what it might mean, that it's difficult to think outside of that box. So when there is pain and people go to the doctors and the doctor says, oh, there's a misalignment here, or there's something that I can see that is structurally wrong with you, then they go on that trajectory of pills, of surgeries, of scans, and basically the diagnosis is basically overruling everything.
Yeah.
And what I want to say is that in some cases, of course, there is structural things, and I'm not a doctor, I can't argue with that. But what I really want to do is to help people recognize that there is another aspect. And actually, this is good news, because when we understand that a lot of the chronic pain and the illnesses, they actually come from psychological stress and, like I said, rage, unprocessed emotions, fears, all of this, then we can clear that and we can create a new environment, new reality for yourself. So I'm not saying the pain is fake or not real or in your head. I'm not saying any of that. The pain is 100% real, but the solution is not necessarily where the doctors believe it is, but there is a whole, side of things.
There's a whole, yeah, absolutely. And I said, I totally agree with you. Before we go on, I just want to say hello to all the people who are watching us at the moment. And Corinne has left a comment saying, "Ooh, that hits, but it is so true." That, as you're saying, the pain is excuse me, the pain is real, but it's what we can do about it. It's how we cope with it, how we treat it, and things like that, and how we align with it. So can you tell us a little bit more about, your journey, and especially the body and emotion code energy healing, and how that all interacts and connects with how, overcoming pain without having to go to the doctors, overcoming illnesses without having to go to the doctors.
Yes. So nowadays I'm also using as you said, the emotion code and body code energy healing methods. I came across it, the guy who invented it or was channeled it, Dr. Bradley Nelson. I heard him in a seminar one day, and he was talking about how our subconscious mind, how it stores everything and it knows everything about us. And basically what the body code and emotion code is, in a nutshell, it means that we are all energy. And as such, whenever we go through emotional events or trauma that we can't process, the energy of these emotions become trapped in our body. And because every emotion has a size and a shape, they're all kind of pressing down and skewing our natural energy flow. And so what we do with this energy healing, I will connect to your subconscious mind, and I will be guided to what emotions or misalignments or imbalances in your body are basically interfering in your energy flow. And this is incredible, actually. This method, every time I work with it, my mind is blown. I had one client. With her, I only did energy healing, and I believe that when we work with energy, I don't need to know the diagnosis. I don't need to know the name that the doctors have given the problem, because the way I look at it is just everything is blocked energy. And so because I'm working with the subconscious mind to be guided to where the blockage is, I can do something about it. And so I had this one client, and she said, I have tons of different symptoms and stuff. And I said, you know what, let's just get working on it. And then it turned out that she had fibromyalgia. And now she showed me, she gave me a testimonial not long ago, that she said that because she had so many symptoms, she didn't pay attention to everything. But then one day she woke up and she said, hang on, the symptoms are not there anymore. The sensitive skin and the hearing and the imbalances, she had different things, and she said none of the symptoms are there anymore. And this was just from energy healing. And she said within 3 to 5 sessions, the fibromyalgia that she was suffering from for such a long time was completely gone. Yes. And to me, that I'm saying, it's mind blowing. It just shows me that we can do when I combine talking with energy healing, it's so powerful, and it's so people can notice the change, the difference in the pain levels and in the symptoms already after one session. And when I think about, people that don't realize that there is another side or there is another option, and only thing they do is go to the doctors and wait for scans and surgeries and stuff, they're missing something that can make such a big difference. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing that we understand that when we acknowledge our trapped emotions and our negative emotions that we bottle up, it's really like the opportunity to do something that you actually can, in a way, control, because we don't want to have, live on pain-free, on medicine and painkillers all our lives, or surgeries and stuff. So yes, that's what I really want to bring to the message that I want to bring, is that there is another way, and you don't have to believe in it, but just give it a try and see for yourself.
Give it a try, and yes, I totally agree with you. There are many different options. Now I go back to our traditional cultures. All the indigenous cultures all over the world. They use their traditional medicines. They don't go down the road and get a pill and stuff, but there are other ways to heal, and they also understand the connection between the mind and the body and stuff, and how our body, as you were saying, a lot of our pain is all the suppressed emotions and things like that, a lot of it. So thank you so much for sharing it, and I just want to honor you for bringing this to our community and to the world, and to following your passion, following your purpose, to getting back into it, even though you do have to be careful of what we say, because not a lot of people, not everyone will believe in it, and there's so many other things out there too that we do have to be careful of what we say sometimes. But do you talk to people individually, and people can come and do you do online? People can see you online. Okay, so we will be putting all those links in the comments. And is there things that people can do, like if I have a chronic illness, for example, or if I'm in a lot of pain and I don't know what to do about it, except I don't want to go to the doctors anymore? What's some of the first steps that people can take?
The first thing that I would say is really start acknowledging your emotions, because really the way that I look at it is that our unconscious mind has the blueprint of our best version, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually.
Yes.
And so the unconscious mind is constantly trying to give us, messages, and to steer us in the right direction that gets us to where we need to go according to our, trajectory. But the problem is that the unconscious mind gives us messages that are so powerful and scary sometimes, because we don't see the details. We don't know how we're going to get there. So as soon as we get the message from the unconscious mind, we have another message from our negative self-talk, negative voice, the saboteur, that says, hey, we're not doing it. You can't do it. What are you talking about? It's a terrible idea. You're going to fail. All of these fears. So what happens is we have the unconscious mind that is so powerful and knows everything about us. And it says, do this, do that, follow the plan. And then we have this flimsy negative talk that says, no, you're not on my watch. And now we have a fight. We become incongruent. And so as soon as we start realizing that we are following the wrong voice, instead of following our unconscious mind, we're following the negative voice. So let's go back to that and say, what am I feeling? A lot of the time people, because they're scared, because they're in the pain, and they believe in the structural damage and all of that, they really, it's like they forget what is actually another kind of conversations that they can have. So just say, okay, I'm parking the physical sensations to one side, and I say, what am I feeling? What is the emotion I'm going through? What am I angry about? Am I who makes me angry? Am I angry about myself? Am I blaming someone else? what is the trauma that I am trying to bottle up? The more we go into our emotions, the more the unconscious mind says, okay, I notice that you're starting to listen to me. And you will notice that your pain, or the quality of the pain changes, because
Changes.
you're starting to open up this channel of conversations.
Yes. Yeah, of course, because pain is just a messenger,
Yes,
isn't it?
yes,
Telling us that something is wrong.
yes.
In most times we don't listen to that, but when you, as you said, when you take time and go into the unconscious and the subconscious, and start to listen to it, then the pain no longer has to be there, and it just reduces
There is
depending on what it
also,
is.
every pain has a message, as you said, from the
Yes.
unconscious mind. So depending on where the pain is, there is something about your life that you are basically going out of alignment. And going back to that client of mine, it was very funny. The other day we were talking about it. In retrospect, he said that he was doing a PhD when we met, and he said that the pain started when he was going to this one university. He was considering to start studying there, and he said as soon as he arrived at the university for the like interviews, he said he started having these terrible leg pains on the left hand side.
Mm-hmm.
And um, and and then we laughed at it, because we said, okay, if it's in the leg, if the pain is in the legs, means that you're about to go somewhere in a direction that doesn't suit you.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's on the left hand side, it means that it's something is so it was on the right hand side, that it was is about to happen in the future. So if he knew about that, he would be able to see that his unconscious mind was giving him messages. So basically, don't go there. This is not the thing that is aligned with you. But he didn't know that, and he did go through all of that. And then we say, well, everything happens for a reason, so we can't berate ourselves for things that we didn't know. But it is interesting to know that
Yeah.
there are wider messages that we sometimes don't know to acknowledge.
Yeah. If we only listened to our body more and stuff.
Yes.
And do you help people to connect with that, to connect with all the messages that the body's trying to tell us? That if it's in our legs, and it's about the direction that we're going in and things like that.
Yeah, yeah. So it really depends on what people want. So I work with people in kind of three different ways. Either just conversations, which is really understanding the bigger picture, understanding, going through the fears and the emotions and the limitations and stuff, and learning to find a new alignment for ourselves, or the real alignment. And the other side is just the body code or emotion codes, which is a different kind of session. And the third way is to do a combination of both. I'm mainly working one-on-one with people. I am planning to start a group as well, which I think is going to be very powerful, as people learn from each other and share, and bring each other up. But really, it's every person to their own. Every one of us has our own reasons for the results that we are having in our lives at the moment. So basically, when I have my connection conversations with people, I am able to understand from them what they feel will work better for them, and that's how we tailor it to
I
their
love,
needs.
I love it. Thank you ever so much for sharing that. It's a really wonderful thing, and if we can support you in any way to get that message out there, as we've discussed and as you've mentioned, there is medication, and there is surgery that is necessary. Totally, absolutely.
Yeah,
We're not here saying that the drugs are not necessary. They are, for especially for a lot of people. But there's also so many that we take so many now. We take a pill for just about anything. That isn't necessary. That there are other ways. And when you go, for you to find that link, the mind-body connection, and how we can overcome that chronic pain by just releasing the build up energy or the build up stress or whatever is causing it to go into the cause. So thank you ever so much for
thank
sharing
you
that.
very much.
And before we leave, Enrique, can you just tell me, like, if you could leave a legacy for all the people in the world that are coming up, all the future generations, what legacy would that be?
I really want to help people understand that all of our troubles, all of our pain that we're experiencing is when we are following the wrong voice. When we follow
Yes.
the negative voice, the negative self-talk, the saboteur, inner critic, we believe in fears, and nothing good can ever happen when we follow our fears.
Yeah.
So when you feel that you're not having the right life, whether it's to do with chronic pain or just having, not getting the life that you want, then ask yourself, where am I walking from fears and limitations? And what would it be like to acknowledge that there is another side of trust and abundance and purpose and, and alignment? So
Yeah.
just pay attention. If you're having any doubts, it is probably that you're going, living through fear.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you ever so much. And one last final, any other comments about, how we can overcome chronic pain, or how we can go into the reason that the chronic pain is trying to tell us, or what the pain is trying to tell us, so we don't have to go and see the doctors.
Well, I like you said, I do encourage people to see the doctors to just really rule out any structural damage or something that they can, um, that they need to hear and do. I can't claim that I replace doctors or all
Yes.
of that, but really, when we talk about chronic pain or anything, really we have to. It's about the alignment. You see, if our unconscious mind knows that we are meant to go right and we keep going left, the unconscious mind is going to do its best to say to us, wait, that's not what you're here to do. That's not what you're meant to live. The fears, the comparison, not comparison, when we compromise, when we do things out of alignment,
There.
this is when the pain comes. So when we are in pain, we need to start asking ourselves, what am I avoiding? What am I not allowing me to see? What is going on here? What is something that I can do today to start getting me back into the life that I used to have? When was the last time that I was living in joy and in abundance? You see, a lot of the time, really, the chronic pain comes from some sort of a trauma that we've been through and we haven't processed. And so this is really the invitation to just pause for a second and say, what is something else that I haven't actually considered yet? And just see how it goes. When you are in pain, if you take a moment and you start asking yourself, earlier I mentioned the emotions, like what am I angry about and who upsets me, what upsets me, all of these questions. But the other thing to do, which is so powerful, is to start paying attention to the pain as an observer, not as a judge, and basically say, what is the quality of the pain? What am I feeling? Is it pulsating? Is it sharp? Is it in waves? When we pay attention to the actual pain, the quality of the pain changes, and a lot of the time it actually becomes less and changes. So there are some things that we can do before we, go to the pills and stuff. But this guy that I was talking about earlier, we talk a lot, and he said when I first met him, he was constantly on Google trying to figure out his symptoms and what the solutions and the research and stuff. The first thing that we've done is actually forbade him for going on Google
Google.
anymore. Yeah, and he said nowadays, but when he has no pain, he says it makes so much sense. He says when I was in pain and I was so focused on the pain, I was trying to sort it out with my head, with my brain. But
Yes.
now I understand that it's all about emotions and heart messages and things that I didn't even think about. So this is what I want to bring here to the table, that the heart sends you messages, the unconscious mind sends you messages that we really want to start paying attention to.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you ever so much for sharing it. And I said I totally agree that all the answers to whatever we're experiencing is within our body. All we have to do is ask and listen to it. and go into the pain and ask it what it's trying to tell us. So thank you ever so much for joining us, for shining the light on our community. Love to have you back, because this is such a needed thing in today's world. I really think there's so many people out there now who want to know that there are different options, want to know what the other options are, rather than going down the current method of doctors and surgery and pills and things. So just want to thank you ever so much for joining us. And for everyone out there who is watching, thank you for joining us, especially Corinne, who's putting all the comments in, and we have put some of your links in, and we will put some more in very, very soon. So you can, if you've got any questions, please put them in the comments. And wherever you are, have a beautiful day. And thank you again.
Thank you so much.